Bringing you the latest health coverage and medical news. Here's Karen McKay's HealthWise at 5.
There are so many health headlines that point to wine as heart healthy, but to a limit, of course. The U.S. dietary guidelines define moderate drinking as no more than 2 drinks a day for men and no more than 1 drink a day for women. That already suggests that women must respond differently to alcohol than men. Our guest today is Dr. Kitty Harris, who is on the Texas Tech faculty. She is also executive director of the Addictive Disorder and Recovery Studies at the Ranch at Dovetree. And Dr. Harris, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Karen.
So let's talk first about how is it different? I mean, physically, we know that women may feel it sooner, but how is it physically different to women?
Well, I think, first of all, because of women's size and their body weight, and also just the way they tolerate and metabolize alcohol is different. And it takes a woman a lot less alcohol to feel that same effect that men feel with a lot more alcohol. So physiologically it's different, and people don't talk about that a lot. And from an addiction standpoint, they say that on the average men, you know, from 8 to 10 years, 8 to 12, they can really develop a dependency on alcohol. But for women, it's more like 4 to 6 years. And so the amount of time that you can drink without there being a problem is significantly different.
So how young are you seeing this in some women?
Well,
alcoholism.
As young as adolescence, as young as high school. And I know that's shocking, but when you begin to look at the average age that girls sometimes start using alcohol, then you find that for many of them it's junior high school. The average age of onset is what we call it, when the drinking behavior starts, can be as young as 9 years old or 10 years old. And I think it's one of those things that we don't like to think about, and we don't really even like to talk about because it's a little bit frightening. The other thing that I think is so important to mention is the women's response emotionally to alcohol and alcoholism. You know, a guy will go out and have a couple of beers and come home and no one thinks much of it. But if a woman stops at the bar on the way home and has a couple of beers or glasses of wine, and then all of a sudden there's a lot of guilt and shame associated with that. You know, why weren't you home? Why didn't you have dinner ready? Why weren't you with the children? Things like that. And so the way that women respond emotionally is very different and very critical.
How are we going to protect young women from that kind of behavior if we see it coming? What can we do?
You know, I think that I'm a big believer in education, and I think sometimes that we haven't been willing to tell the truth about how early it starts and how much can be done. And so I think part of what we can do is educate our young women that it might seem harmless, 1 drink, but when 1 drink leads to 2 and 2 to 3 and on and on. And so I think part of it's being honest and talking about it and helping them be aware that they can get caught up in it a lot faster than they realize.
And we're running out of time, but is there a genetic component? Is there something people should understand about mom or your grandmother or other people in the family?
Absolutely. Most of the research has shown some genetic link, but I will say this, some of it hasn't, and there's also an environmental link, is you know, what happens when you're in a situation like that.
So you can't think it won't happen to me because it's not in my family, right?
Absolutely not.
All right.